This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What teams in the Big 12 are not getting enough hype going into the 2024 football season? Well, this episode, which is sponsored in part by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, we're going to talk about that with a special guest, and we're going to do that right after this word from another sponsor. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up, and welcome into another episode of Couz's Corner. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, belly yourself up to the bar, and let me serve you up a shot of top-shelf college football content. On tap in this episode, we're talking Big 12 football. We're going to talk about a handful of teams that are not getting enough love by some folks in the media, if not the majority in the media. Teams that might be dark horses to win the league, teams who may not be getting enough love and may, instead of finishing at the bottom of the league, maybe they're in the middle of the pack. But anyway, we're going to do that, and we're going to bring on a special guest to do that. And going to bring on Mr. Matt Thornsbury. Matt, how you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Matt is going to be a contributor here on the channel for this 2024 football season. Going to be bringing you some Big 12 content. So this is I wanted to introduce Matt to the world.
Good to be here. I appreciate it.
Matt, like myself, was a fellow West Virginia fan, but loves college football and loves the Big 12, and we're excited about talking Big 12 football with you folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, Matt, you've done some writing in your past. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did 7 years with the Associated Press, starting in 2015. So.
Awesome. So, but anyway, Matt, let's dig right in, man. There's a handful of teams in the conference that you and I kind of talked off air about that they're just not getting enough love and attention from whether it be the Big 12 media, whether it be, national media, whatever the case may be. And one of those teams, and the first one we'll talk about is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. What are your thoughts about Texas Tech and where they sit preseason versus where you think they have a shot to end up when it's all said and done?
Yeah, so the big thing about Texas Tech is that they've produced players like Patrick Mahomes, but you look back to when they had a season when they had the season with Patrick Mahomes, they weren't that great that season, right? But fast forward to now, I think Texas Tech, as I was saying earlier, Texas Tech is one of your teams that is always competitive in the league, right? Always competitive, right. And you never want to take your eye off of them. I always say that's a team when you go into the Texas Tech Stadium, you best be ready to play. And with them coming in with, they had the number one recruiting class, and I think that's getting overlooked heavily. They're sitting right there mid-pack with WVU, UCF, Iowa
right.
State, some of the other, dark horses that can make their way up and make some noise in the Big 12. But yeah, I think people need to understand that we are looking at a Texas Tech team that I believe, just like West Virginia, has a chip on their shoulder, right? Because they're being left out of so many conversations. And hey, when you got that chip on your shoulder, you're going to becoming ready to play.
Yeah,
and I think they will for sure.
Right. Yeah, when you look at Texas Tech, I mean, they actually have the chance. If you look at their schedule, they start the season out with a chance to go 5-0. I mean, they obviously in non-conference they have Abilene Christian. Then they travel to Washington State. I think that they have a good shot to win that one. Not going to be easy, but they have a shot to win that one. Then they come back home to play North Texas. So there's their 3 non-conference games. And then when they start conference play at home against Arizona State. Now, we all know Arizona State not expected to do much. They're rebuilding after the Herm Edwards crap that went on there, the NCAA violations and all that. And Kenny Dillingham, even though he's doing some good things, I think they're still a year or two away. So that should be a win. And then they have Cincinnati at home, which again, another team who most are picking to be near the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
So theoretically, on paper at least, Texas Tech should start out 5-0 and 2-0 in the league.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that stretch of
the
games?
I kind of believe, of course, like you said, you got Abilene Christian. The Washington State game, of course, Washington State's always a tough team to play against, especially it being a home game for Washington State. That could be a tough one for them to come out of smelling good. But Washington State hasn't really. They've been okay. They were okay. So I definitely see Texas Tech coming out of there with a win for sure.
Right.
And you go on to North Texas. I mean, you were completely right about Arizona State. That's a home game for Texas Tech as well. 3 straight home games: North Texas, Arizona State, and Cincinnati.
Correct.
So yeah, that should be. I think it's a very, very high possibility they come out of there 5-0. Now, this is where things get interesting. Is when they go away and play at Arizona.
Yes.
If they can come out of Arizona with a win and then come back home against Baylor, man, they're going to be riding high going into TCU. And that's, like you said, a very, very high possibility. It's crazy to me that they're flying under the radar like that with the start to the season with this. I mean, that's – I don't know.
Agreed. No, I agree. I mean, because if you start off, they're going to be ranked. If you start off 5-0, you're probably going to be ranked in the top 25, right? At least close. Yeah. Now, some of that's going to depend on how those other teams are doing, right?
Right.
But you could be ranked by that point. Now, I do have them dropping the game at Arizona. I think Arizona is going to be a little bit better team, and it's on the road after 3 straight home games. So I think, and Joey McGuire, let's face it, has not done very well on the road so far in Big 12 play. So,
well, my question with Arizona, of course, they're not in this conversation too much, but my question with Arizona is that they lost a few key pieces for them. They had a lot of noise coming in this season after the season they had last year. They had a lot of noise coming in, and they were expecting to make a lot of noise coming into the Big 12 this season, but that was before they lost a lot of key pieces on that Arizona squad. And so I was pretty high on Arizona. I was one of the ones that was pretty high on them, but I don't know, man. I think some of the pieces they lost in the transfer portal might have knocked them down a notch.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you there. I actually have them kind of in the middle of the pack right around where West Virginia is going to be. I think Arizona and West Virginia are very similar as far as where I have them ranked in my preseason predictions. Yeah. But anyway, Texas Tech rounds out their schedule. After the bye week, they are back home against Baylor. I think we touched on that one. That's probably a win. Then they have to go to TCU. Now, that game, to me, it's a toss-up. I do have Texas Tech losing that one because it's on the road. And I have them
tough at home.
Correct. And I have them losing at Iowa State the following week, too. So, basically, I have them dropping 5 of their last 7 games because their schedule gets so much tougher. I mentioned Baylor, TCU, Iowa State. Then they have Colorado, and then another bye. And then they finish the season at Oklahoma State and at home against our Mountaineers. So it's a pretty tough stretch to close the season out. Yeah, absolutely.
That is grueling. I don't envy the end of that schedule at all. No. TCU at home. Oh, man, that's tough. Iowa State at home, that's tough. Man, I tell you what, it's tough that they've had to take it like that. I tell you what, they might have to look out for though is that Colorado game at home as well. If they don't come away with wins against TCU or Iowa State at home or away, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna, of course, it's going to be a home game, so they're going to be looking to punch Colorado in the mouth.
Correct.
Especially if they go 0-2 at TCU and at Iowa State, they're going to be looking to do some damage to Colorado. But give it to Deion Sanders. I think the guy's a great coach. He'll be looking to make that 3 straight losses, and so that man. Then they go into Oklahoma State. It's very, very, very possible they end the season without any wins, to be honest with you. But on the flip side of that, we're talking about teams flying under the radar. If they can start this season with, big wins over Arizona State, Washington State, Arizona, even if they can split with TCU and Iowa State, even if they can just catch one of those games, I believe they'll be okay because, again, they're a dangerous team, and we have to play them at Texas Tech. And my confidence in us playing away games is not very high.
I'm with you. All right. Anything else on Texas Tech before we move on to the next team who's under the radar?
Nope.
All right.
Good to go.
This one may surprise some people because I don't know that they're under the radar as far as being picked to finish near the top of the conference, but I think they might still be a little bit underrated when you talk about who has a chance to win the league. I mean, everybody's talking about Utah. You've got a few people talking about Oklahoma State, and then there are some talking about this team, but I think it's almost as if everybody's just jumped on the Utah bandwagon and is forgetting that this next team's still in the league, and that's the Kansas State Wildcats. What are your thoughts on them initially?
It's weird. It's a weird situation with K-State because I feel like before the official move for those new teams coming into the Big 12, Utah, Arizona, all those guys, before the official move in the offseason, there was a lot of hype surrounding K-State. I think there was a lot of people picking them to win the conference.
Right.
As of course it was between Oklahoma State, K-State. That's what I was seeing. Of course, there was other stuff out there about Utah coming in and winning it, of course.
Right.
But after the official move of the new teams coming in, I feel like K-State just started getting left out of everything. Like you said, all the hype was about Utah. When they joined the conference, it all just went to Utah. They just started pulling all the hype to them. And man, if I was a K-State fan, I'd be pretty heated. You have a solid squad coming back this year, and they're always a tough team. Same thing with Iowa State, same thing with Texas Tech. They're always a team in the Big 12 that is looking to punch you in the mouth. Doesn't matter if they haven't won a game. Doesn't matter, if they're mid-pack, bottom of the pack, like I said, they're always looking to punch you in the mouth. And so I think it's so unfair to not keep them in the conversation of winning the Big 12. They're always there. They're always a step or two away from winning the Big 12.
Agreed. Yeah, and Chris Kleiman's a heck of a football coach too. So, I mean, you can never count this guy out and this team out.
I was going to say, you're right. You said earlier that, they're not really under the radar per se. Media poll, preseason poll had them picked second. So, they're not necessarily under the radar. I think my description of them being under the radar is I don't think they're getting enough love for winning the Big 12. I think Utah's taking all the love. I think Oklahoma State's taking all the love in being in the light.
Got it. That makes sense. No, it makes perfect sense. But what I was going to say is I couldn't believe when I saw the all Big 12 preseason team come out and there was not one Kansas State player on the list.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
But yet they're expected to be one of the top 3 teams in the conference. So that just shows you they play good team football. That or some of their guys are very, very underrated. One of the two. Yeah.
Well, K-State, that's another thing. K-State is always very fundamentally sound. And that's why they've always been a very solid team, is because they've always played the game the right way. A lot of times they make very few mistakes, and they'll beat you in areas of the game that you might not be too brushed up on. I know Dana used to always talk about, he used to always give K-State their colors in special teams. K-State used to always beat people with special teams. And I mean, hey, if they bring in a squad this season, that's they're already preseason, like I said, preseason pick number 2.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, it's very weird that nobody ended up on that list. But you're right, very, very, very solid team all around.
Mm-hmm.
They play really well together.
Yeah. And when you look at their schedule, I mean, I'm not going to go through each game, but I mean, they do have a non-con game against Arizona because it was already scheduled. But I personally, I have them going 10-2, 7-2 in the conference. The 2 losses I have for them, I do have them losing at West Virginia, and I do have them losing to at the end of the season. I have them losing to Iowa State in Ames. That's always a tough game. It's Farmageddon. It's a rivalry game. And I think Iowa State's going to be a really good team as well. So I gave the home team the nod there. But other than that, I mean, I haven't, they've got Kansas State schedule's not, I don't see it being the hardest in the conference, but it's also not easy. I mean, they do have to play Oklahoma State. They have to play Iowa State. They do have to play, obviously West Virginia, Kansas. So, yeah. But they also have Houston thrown in there, who I don't think is going to be very good. They have Arizona State in there. They have Cincinnati, and they have BYU. So there are some teams in there who are probably going to be the bottom tier of the conference. So I think that kind of offsets. So I think this league is very winnable for Kansas State.
Yeah.
To be honest, when you look at the schedule and you look at what they have at home versus what's away, and the facts like you talked about them being a very fundamentally sound football team and a well-coached team, I think there's a really good chance this team could be playing in Arlington and even win it, despite Utah getting all the love, so to speak.
Yeah, pretty simple schedule, I would say. It's tough to win in Morgantown. I'll always go back to the year we beat them. It's always a game, though. I think there was one time back when Dana coached that we absolutely stomped them, and in the post, I think it was like 42-14 or something. And after the game, even Dana said, that never happens to K-State. That never happens to K-State. And so that game in Morgantown, I'm telling you, that's going to be a barn burner for sure. I think, we'll be lucky to get out of that game winning by a touchdown.
Right.
So, but yeah, I definitely think their schedule caters to them for sure this season.
Yep.
I was looking at it, though, and call me crazy. That's fine. I think they better watch themselves at Tulane. I believe Tulane is I'm not going to say a, great team, but I think Tulane is a good enough team to beat K-State at home if K-State doesn't come ready to play. That's what I mean. If K-State doesn't come ready to play, Tulane could get out of there with a win. Of course, K-State could go in there and win by 40.
Right.
But,
yeah, and that game is in week 2 for those of you who are wondering. But yeah, they have to go to Tulane to play that game. So very good point. It'll be interesting to see how Tulane handles the coaching change there and all that. But yeah, very dangerous. Could be a dangerous spot, so to speak. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, to me, a lot of the success of this team could hinge on Avery Johnson. Is he as good as advertised at quarterback? If he's as good as advertised and, being mentioned for the Heisman and all this, which I think is crazy, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and it's not crazy. But if he's as good as advertised, then I think there's no way this is not a top 3-4 team in the league, if not top 2. But, he is a freshman, a redshirt freshman. So, with very little experience. So we'll see. Will it take him some time to adjust, or is he the stud everybody says he is?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's not very often that you have a freshman quarterback come in and, dominate in the Big 12. That's what I mean. You can have a freshman quarterback come in and dominate, maybe some other conference, but I believe Big 12 is tough to do. You're coming in and everybody wants to always, debate conferences, who's tougher, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the conferences have their own, they're all tough.
Right.
They're all tough.
Yeah. Right.
One game after another is real tough. And so for Avery, to come in as a freshman, it's going to be tough. I think he's got some experience that he's going to have to really gain quickly when he first starts taking over the helm. The first couple games, of course, it's getting your nerves going and everything, adrenaline pumping, and then we'll see. I won't put too much on him in the first part of the season. We'll let him kind of work into the Big 12.
Right.
Like we said, he's a freshman, so we'll let him. We'll give him a few games, and then
there you go.
Yeah, we'll give him a few games, and then after that, we'll start looking into his game a little more and seeing how he adjusts as time goes on in the Big 12. So, yeah, I think it's weird being mentioned for Heisman coming in as a freshman. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, agreed. And by the way, folks, speaking of Heisman, if you want, you can go to BetUS right now, and you can actually place a bet on who wins the Heisman, right? You can also bet on who's going to win the Big 12. And right now, when you look at the odds, Kansas State is plus 380 to win the Big 12, according to BetUS. They have Utah at 310. They have our Mountaineers, our beloved Mountaineers, at plus 1,800. So if they happen to pull off a miracle and win the Big 12 and you've got money, that's a pretty big payout. So go to check out my BetUS link in the description box. You get 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Take advantage of that offer by going to the description box or the link in the pinned comment below. And thanks to BetUS for being a sponsor here on the channel. Now, let's jump to the next team, another team who's somewhat flying under the radar, and that is the Iowa State Cyclones. What are your initial thoughts on Matt Campbell's Cyclones?
Look, man, you said it. You already said his name, and it's my only factor for Iowa State for right now is Matt Campbell. You can't bet against the guy, man. I mean, we'll go back to the year that was it his first year that they won the Big 12?
I don't remember exactly, but it was they played in the Big 12 championship. They didn't win it.
Yeah. That's what it was. They played in the Big 12 championship, and I was like, man,
it was 2021, I believe, or 20. I can't remember the exact year, but it was
Matt Campbell, heck of a coach. I don't even have to go any further than that. You can't bet against Matt Campbell, and going in the Ames and winning, that's hard to do.
Absolutely.
That's my initial thoughts. I don't even got to say anything else other than that. I can't bet against Matt Campbell, and it's tough going into Ames and winning. And if he has a solid squad this season, in which he does, you take a look at their schedule, like you were saying, the other teams that they're at home against North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Iowa State and Iowa. That's going to be a home game for Iowa. Iowa always tough at home as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be a good test right there, real quick, to see where Iowa State's sitting, and so we'll see if they come out of Iowa with a win. If they can come out of Iowa with a win, you got Arkansas State at Houston, back home at Baylor.
Winnable. Yeah.
Same thing with you're going back to what we were saying about Texas Tech. They have a solid chance at starting 5-0 here, and before they have to play our Mountaineers.
Very good point.
Let's see, they come into Morgantown, right?
Correct, on the 12th of October.
So they come into Morgantown. If they come into Morgantown 5-0, and they get out of Morgantown with a win, that's a scary team. Mm-hmm. That is a scary Cyclones team.
Yeah. And their schedule is, they don't have the hardest schedule either. They've got, you mentioned Houston and Baylor. Then they got West Virginia and Morgantown. Then they are back home against UCF. That could be a tough game. Then they get a bye week before they get Texas Tech at home. Then they close the season with Kansas, Cincinnati, Utah, and Kansas State. So, they got a tough couple games there to end the year. And then obviously Kansas thrown in there. But, they got Cincinnati, winnable. Baylor, Houston, all winnable. Arizona State, winnable. So Or, I'm sorry, that's Arkansas State. I'm looking at it wrong. It's my great eyesight. But no, it's but anyway, long story short is they got a lot of winnable games on their schedule. I think Iowa State has a good shot to finish in that 9-3, maybe even 10-2 range. 9-3 to me is more likely, and finish around 7-2 in the league. That's kind of where I have them sitting.
Yeah, for sure. This is what I'll say about the schedule. If they can, the end of their schedule. If they, like I said, if they can get out of Morgantown with a win, if they start 5-0, if they go into Iowa and win, and then they come to Morgantown 5-0. If they get now, it's a tall task. It's a tall task, but it's doable for Iowa State for sure.
Agreed.
So if they can get out of Morgantown with that win, I think the latter part of their schedule after that is those teams are looking at Iowa State now as, hold up, like we best come ready to play because Iowa State's rolling. And
Absolutely.
so it's going to be – it's a tough way to end the season for them. But I kind of feel like the script would flip. It's going to be looking like, they got to go to Utah. They have to go to Kansas. And then K-State has to come there. But it's going to be like Utah is going to be saying, Iowa State's riding high. They're on fire this season. And they're looking to come into Utah and beat the crap out of us,
Yep.
So it's all depending upon how their season starts. And we'll see what happens at Iowa and in Morgantown.
Absolutely. And not forget they have 18, 19 guys returning from last year's team, something like that, from a bowl team. So to me, I don't see them being worse than last year. All right.
No.
Yeah. Next team, let's go ahead and jump ahead to the UCF Knights. This is a team who, Gus Malzahn has been recruiting his tail off. Right now, he's, especially in the 25 class, he is killing it. And even got some 26 guys, I think, who were highly rated guys who were committed. But for 2024, obviously UCF, of the four newcomers last year, they were the only one to make a bowl game. Where do you see UCF finishing the season at? And, what does the season look like for them, who, again, kind of under the radar, not a lot of people talking about them to win the league or anything. But do you think there's enough hype around UCF?
I don't think there is enough hype. Matter of fact, I don't think there's enough respect on Gus Malzahn's name, okay? I think that guy is a genius. I think he is a great coach. People are going to call me crazy, whatever. I think Gus is going to have that team ready to play this year. They were a solid team last season. I'm kind of surprised that they're going so far under the radar because they didn't do terrible last year. And you look again at their schedule, and I mean they got to go into TCU on their third game of the season.
Correct.
And then it's home against Colorado. Oof, they got to go to Florida.
Yes, that's a tough.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
And it's right in the middle, right smack in the middle of conference play, which is kind of an odd placement for that game.
Yeah, that's tough. But I was looking at the latter part of their schedule. They are home against BYU and Arizona. Very winnable games. And then you go away against Arizona State, West Virginia, and then back home against Utah. With UCF, I think I would have them winning probably 7 or 8 games, realistically, 7 or 8 games. And you go to the preseason media poll, they got UCF mid-pack sitting at 8th, and they're saying the same thing. They're looking at the schedule and saying, we could see them winning 7, 8 games maybe.
Right.
But this is my difference maker here is Gus Malzahn. We'll see what he's made of this year. I kind of go back to when he was at Auburn, and he did a fantastic job at Auburn. and he recruited the right guys to win ball games. He's a great recruiter, and like you said, he's been hot on the recruiting trail for UCF, and I think this would be a good starting season for Gus and UCF to kind of come out of the shell. Last season they were so, and I believe this year they could maybe break out of that mid-pack tier, and we'll see. They might stay mid-pack, but don't be surprised if Gus takes them to the top of the conference. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm not quite as high on them as you are. I do like what they have at the skill positions. Obviously, with KJ Jefferson coming over, with RJ Harvey, with all those, just name the skill position guys they've got, right? But I'm still not convinced that they can stop the run, and for that reason, I think they're going to have trouble. And this is a loaded back. This league's loaded with great running backs. So, with that being said, I still have them around a 500 team. I do think they're a bowl team, but their schedule, man, doesn't do them any favors. I mean, we talked about having Florida slammed right in the middle of Big 12 play. They have Iowa State at away, West Virginia away, and at home games against Utah, Arizona. I mean, and I think Cincinnati is a team that could sneak up and beat them too. So I don't think their schedule. Their schedule. I don't look at it as a gauntlet per se, but it's not going to be a cakewalk either. So I think UCF, again, until they prove to me they can stop the run, and that their offensive line is good enough to win games in the Big 12 consistently, I still think they're a 500 team. And I think they're still a year away with Gus Malzahn's recruiting. I still think probably they're 1 year away to me for competing for a Big 12 championship. But so, I guess we kind of differ on that one a little bit. But
no, I agree. That's what I was saying earlier, is that they could use this season as like a kind of breaking out of the shell to get past that point. Now, it might not happen, like you said. It might not happen. I think it's very safe to say that they're probably still a year away. Being hot on the recruiting trail. I mean, he's loading up. And he might think the same thing. He's loading up for seasons to come. Right. So I don't think you're wrong. I'm just saying that there's a possibility there, and they have the skilled guys to do it. We'll just see if Gus is, sometimes schemes can get you, past certain points. Sometimes it can disguise your weak points, and we'll see if Gus can put the schemes together to do that this season. Right.
Great stuff. Great point. All right. Last but not least, got to talk about our Mountaineers, man. They're not getting a lot of respect. They didn't make it in the AP Top 25 after finishing 9-4, after a bowl win, after bringing back almost everybody from the skill position wise on the offense, bringing back a lot of starts on the offensive line. What gives, man? What's going on with the Mountaineers?
Man, I honestly, and this isn't a WVU fan speaking biasly, if that's a word. I'm saying the media, I feel like they really don't like to give West Virginia their colors. I really don't. And that happens in everything, so it's nothing new. Right. Because if you look at top of the conference teams, Oklahoma State, K-State, when Oklahoma and Texas were here, Oklahoma, Texas, if they just had even if they didn't have a good season and they had the same team returning, they would give them their respect no matter what, right? Right. Always. And it's the same thing around the rest of the nation. You look at Ohio State, Alabama, all these teams, and if they have a mid-season, if they bring back the same team, they're getting their respect, period.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how WVU can go out here, win 9 games, go in the bowl, and everybody wants to talk about, okay, North Carolina didn't have anybody. Everybody opted out of the game. Okay, that's fine. But WVU still went into that bowl game and did exactly what they were supposed to do. Now, if they would have went into that game and struggled against a team that didn't have anybody, fine, say what you want to say. But they went into that game and did absolutely what they were supposed to do, blow that team out of the water because they didn't have nobody. Mm-hmm. And now they said at 9-4, solid season, especially for a team that was picked last.
Right.
And they went out and won 9 games. So it makes no sense to me. They're bringing back pretty much the entire team. I mean, come on. They had one of the best backfields in not only the Big 12, in the nation. Right. I think C.J. Donaldson and White are one of the top duos in the nation, backfield duos in the nation. And then you add Garrett Green in there. I mean, there's not many backfields that look like that.
Agreed.
In the nation. And especially, I always say this, when a team has a mobile quarterback, that makes that team so much more dangerous, especially when you have weapons outside of your backfield and outside of your quarterback. And I think that I think Preston Fox is going to be tremendous for us. I think, of course, Clement is going to be amazing. I'm hoping he turns out to be like David Sills. I think he's got the hands to do it. I think he's got the hands to do it. We'll just see if he has the will to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's a bold comparison there, but I like it.
Yeah, it is a bold comparison. I mean, David Sills. You're looking at somebody who had how many touchdown catches did he have that season?
I was just looking at that today. He's second in school history. He had around 39, 38, 39, somewhere in there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at the quarterback he had Will Grier. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying,
right?
Because if you look at some of the catches he made, insane. I'm just saying that Clement has he has the same. Of course, he has the same stature as David Sills. I think he's
he's similar size. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's so similar. The way he catches the ball, his route running, I think he's so similar to David Sills, and I think it's there. I think the ability and the possibility is there for him to reach that level that Sills was at. We'll see if he does. Of course, now, like we were saying, the backfield with C.J. Donaldson and White, he's probably not going to get as many opportunities as David Sills got.
Right.
In which, I think that right there is what makes West Virginia so dangerous. And that's why I don't understand why they're flying under the radar, is because it's not like they're one-dimensional.
Right. Well, I think the national media, maybe even some of the Big 12 media, because they don't follow the team as closely as you and I do, they don't understand. They look at this receiving corps that it's just a bunch of young guys who don't have a whole lot of experience.
Yeah.
Now they are bringing Jaden Bray in from Oklahoma State, who's having a hell of a fall. I mean, they say he is looking fantastic. They bring Justin Robinson in from Mississippi State. He's looked good, very long. He's like 6'4". So I think those, they're not taking that into account. And, even though Traylon Ray and Rodney Gallagher are only sophomores, they're extremely talented sophomores who are poised to have a breakout year. So yeah, I think it's just it's just unknowns, man. People don't understand the talent in this West Virginia receiver room because they haven't seen it yet, maybe. But to me, I mean, if you look at last year, I thought Hudson Clement and Preston Fox both did enough to kind of get some respect on the Nationals. Even Traylon Ray, I thought those guys did enough to get a little bit more respect. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the game against Houston and what Hudson did in that game. I think it kind of just, in a way, I don't want to say hurts them that were two-dimensional, because they're not going to get as much stat padding as they would if we were one-dimensional. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, if you go back to David Sills and Will Greer, Greer was just passing the ball almost the whole game to David Sills, right?
Yeah.
And so they got that national coverage because that's pretty much all we did. Of course, our backfield was still good. I'm not taking anything away from that, but the obvious is we had Will Greer and David Sills.
That was the strength of the team at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of, I of course, again, I'm not making excuses, because they absolutely should be getting more love than what they are. I think Clement the guy's got great hands, and he's fantastic route runner. And not only that, we haven't mentioned that we have Rodney Gallagher. He's highly recruited wide receiver too that came in. And I think he's going to be fantastic. And you just add him to the mix of these guys that came in through the transfer portal. Man, hey, Garrett Green was the talk of the town when he went to the Manning camp. So,
Yep. That's all right. Well, you know what? All they can do is prove it on the field, and I think they got what better chance to do that than August 31st against a top 5 or top 10 at least ranked Penn State team. So it's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be exciting to see what this Mountaineer team looks like when the Nittany Lions roll into Morgantown.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's it don't get too much bigger than that. At
the end of the day, though, before we just wrap this up, what do you have West Virginia finishing record-wise at the end of the year?
Record-wise, so I do have them. I have them winning 9 games this season.
Okay.
I think they go 9-3.
Okay.
Of course, I would want them to go 10-2 or 11-1, but trying to make myself be realistic. That's tough sometimes.
Same. I agree. I have them at 8-4. So 1 game difference there, but so we're in the same neighborhood. But I think West Virginia's going to be a better team, but I think their schedule is just so freaking hard, especially in the middle when they got those 5 games in a row with Kansas State, Kansas, Arizona, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State. I mean, and they're not in that order, but I mean that's a 5-game gauntlet, man, and that doesn't even include having to play Pitt and Penn State out of conference. So it's just going to be a tough road to hoe, and everything has to go perfect. They have to stay healthy the whole season, so that's I'm like you. I'm trying to be realistic and take off the golden blue glasses, and to me, 8-4 is kind of where they land. So
yeah, I think and we don't fare too well against K-State and Oklahoma State, or Iowa State for that matter. They always give us. It's what I was saying earlier. You look at those 3 teams right there. It doesn't matter if they win 1 game or if they win 10 games, 11 games.
Right.
Those teams right there are going to give you everything that you can handle every season. Right. And so I think the Big 12 helps you be reasonable. I think it helps you be realistic because you just know that the entire conference is a gauntlet.
Yep.
And so, it's possible that we come out of conference play doing better than that, but I don't know, man. I think 9 games is what we can come away with. And really, I don't want to say this. I debated on saying this. We'll be lucky if we get to 9 games win-wise. And I don't want to say that, but realistically, with the schedule, like you said, I don't know. We'll see.
Fair, man.
We'll see.
That's fair. Nobody can accuse us of being homers, man. I can tell you. Even though we are, we try to be realistic when we give our predictions. But so Matt, real quick, man, before we get off of here, let everybody know how they can interact with you on X, or anywhere else for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my X handle. I'm so used to saying Twitter handle.
I know.
My X handle is Thornsbury on Twitter. I got to get back on there. Off season, I'm so off my game in the off season. But of course, it comes back up, and I'll be posting regularly and whatnot. So yeah, Thornsbury, spelled like it sounds, but Bury.
Yeah. Like he's burying thorns.
So
that's how I remember it.
Right. Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening, it's on maybe on podcasts, it's the Thorn THORN SBURY.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So,
I probably should have done that. Oh well.
No worries. I usually forget to do it, so no biggie. But anyway, looking forward, Matt and I are looking forward to working more together as get more into closer to the season, and hopefully doing some weekly shows. And Matt's going to be doing some shows, on his own, hopefully here too as well, covering the Big 12. And really looking forward to bringing you guys more stuff, more content here on the channel, some stuff that that's different. I get tired of same old, and I'm sure you guys do too. So anyway, and I got to give another shout out to the sponsors, Cats Canner, Stone Street, and Buckner, and Bet US. Thank you both for sponsoring the channel, helping us keep the lights on. Have a top shelf day in Q Country Roads.